It was a misty morning in the Japanese province of Mimasaka. The year was 1584, and a young boy was born to a family of samurais. Little did anyone know that this boy, Miyamoto Musashi, would become one of the greatest swordsmen in Japanese history. Musashi's life was not an easy one. His father died when he was young, and he was raised by his mother and uncle. He was trained in the art of the sword from a young age, and by the time he was in his late teens, he had already won several duels. But Musashi was not content with just being a skilled swordsman. He wanted to become the best. He spent years traveling around Japan, challenging and defeating the most skilled swordsmen he could find. He developed his own unique style of swordsmanship, which he called Niten Ichi-ryu, or two heavens as one. Musashi's fame as a swordsman grew, and he became known as the Sword Saint. But despite his success, he lived a solitary life, often traveling alone and avoiding the company of others. He became known as a loner, but he saw it as a necessary part of his path. He believed that to become truly great, one had to follow the path of the lone warrior. He wrote in his book, The Book of Five Rings, that the way of the warrior is resolute acceptance of death. He believed that by living a life of solitude and focusing solely on the art of the sword, one could attain a higher level of skill and enlightenment. Before we delve into the fascinating life of Miyamoto Musashi and his path as a lone warrior, I make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell icon. Number 7. Do not collect weapons or practice with weapons beyond what is useful. Miyamoto Musashi, the legendary Japanese warrior, was renowned for his mastery of two-sword fighting. He carried both a long and a short sword not to show off, but because it was the way of the warrior. In his book, The Book of Five Rings, Musashi explained that each weapon has unique characteristics and should be chosen according to the situation. He advised against collecting or practicing with weapons beyond what's necessary, which is a lesson that can be applied to everyday life. Many people fall into the trap of engaging in unnecessary activities or investments instead of focusing on what's essential to achieve their goals. However, Musashi also warned against becoming too attached to one particular way or method, as being flexible and adaptable is crucial to success. The samurai practiced with a variety of weapons, and Musashi emphasized the importance of learning to handle each weapon properly. In essence, finding the golden middle path between having a lack of focus and being too fixated on one thing is key to success. Number 6. Do not fear death. Throughout history, the acceptance of death has been a fundamental aspect of many warrior cultures, and the samurai were no exception. These warriors understood that their training in the art of combat was not just about honing their physical skills, but also about preparing their minds for the inevitability of death. By facing the possibility of death every day in their training, they were able to overcome the fear of it and embrace it as a natural part of life. This mindset was empowering for them on the battlefield because they were able to fight without hesitation, knowing that death was not something to be feared. But this concept of acceptance of death can also be applied to our everyday lives. Although we may not be facing sword duels, death is still an ever-present reality that can generate unnecessary anxiety if we let it. The truth is, we don't know what happens after we die, and so worrying about it is pointless. Rather than fearing death, we should embrace life and live it to the fullest while we have the chance. In the end, death may simply be the end of life's sufferings, and if that's the case, then it's not something to be feared, but rather something to be embraced as the natural cycle of life. Number 5. Do not act following customary beliefs. Musashi understood the dangers of blind obedience, having likely witnessed the unskillfulness of leaders in his time, including those in traditional Japanese schools, politicians, and even the emperor himself. Carelessly following customary beliefs can cause us to abandon our common sense, rational thinking, and even morality. The fact that something is the norm doesn't necessarily mean it's not evil, as history has shown us time and again with countless examples of collective engagement in evil acts. The horrors of the Second World War serve as a prime example of what can happen when people blindly follow the dominant narrative. Similarly, Western culture has institutionalized and normalized alcohol consumption, despite its destructive effects that can rival those of narcotics. Musashi's experience as a ronin and hermit allowed him to observe society from a distance. which enabled him to make independent decisions about what was truly beneficial to his life. In short, customary beliefs may not always be the best guidelines to follow. Number 4, do not seek to possess either goods or fiefs for your old age. Despite the constant danger he faced in the many duels he fought, Musashi believed that possessions and wealth should not be sought solely for the sake of old age. In modern times, this lesson can be applied by sacrificing our time and energy now in exchange for future financial security. However, this does not mean that we should ignore the future altogether. Musashi himself cared deeply about the future and leaving a legacy. In seeking a deeper meaning behind this lesson, we can turn to Buddhism for philosophical substance. The Buddha teaches that wealth is not inherently bad, but it should be acquired and used in wholesome ways. Pursuing wealth can be exhausting and detrimental to our well-being, so instead, we may want to focus on developing the mind. For Musashi, this meant perfecting his swordsmanship, but there are other fulfilling pursuits available that are more reliable than accumulating wealth. Ultimately, we should learn to find contentment in the present moment rather than counting on the help of Buddha or the gods. Number 3, respect Buddha and the gods without counting on their help. Many people find comfort in following a spiritual teacher or believing in a higher power. It gives us a sense of purpose and helps us make sense of the world around us. But just because we believe in something greater than ourselves doesn't mean we can't take responsibility for our own lives. We all have different views on why we're here and what our purpose is, but one thing we can all agree on is that we have agency. We have the power to make choices, and we're responsible for the consequences of those choices. We can't control what life throws our way, but we can control how we respond to it. This is the foundation of most religions and belief systems. They provide guidelines and precepts to help us make the right choices, even when things get tough. While it's okay to ask for help from a higher power, we shouldn't rely on it to solve our problems. It's much more empowering to focus on our own strength, wisdom, and resilience so we can take control of our lives and face any challenge that comes our way. Number 2, never stray from the way. The way of the warrior demands absolute focus and dedication, leaving no room for deviation. For Musashi, this meant dedicating himself entirely to the way of the sword, transcending everything else, even life and death. In today's society, true commitment is rare, with most of us opting for instant gratification rather than pursuing a higher goal through sacrifice and restraint. However, to achieve something significant, we must commit to a certain degree. This applies to all areas of life, from business and relationships to mastering a skill or overcoming bad habits. Musashi's life is a testament to what can be achieved through wholehearted commitment to a goal. He won over 60 duels, leaving a legacy that is still honored centuries later. Whether it's the way of the warrior or any other pursuit, staying focused and committed to the path is the key to success. Number 1, you may abandon your own body, but you must preserve your honor. Throughout history, honor has been a central value in many cultures, often prioritized even over life itself. From the ancient samurais of Japan to the warriors of medieval Europe, the concept of honor has been both revered and debated. While definitions of honor can vary between cultures and individuals, one thing is clear. Honor is a complex and deeply ingrained belief that has shaped the way people live and die. The Japanese, for example, placed great emphasis on honor and saw it as intertwined with warfare and weaponry. Dying for the emperor was the greatest honor, while surrender was viewed as an act of cowardice. For some, like legendary swordsman Miyamoto Musashi, honor was so important that it surpassed even life and death. Ultimately, the way we perceive and uphold honor is a personal and cultural choice that reflects our values and beliefs. And that's it for today. What lessons can we learn from Miyamoto Musashi's dedication to the path of the loner, and how can we apply them to our own lives? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. If you found this video informative, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel. Make sure to hit the notifications bell to stay up to date on our future uploads. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.